can't even tell you right now what all those loans were for. Maranekele heavy in debt. Yeah, so thanks to me having a season of time where it is that my salary we overdraft. The situation with the overdraft was so bad that I once walked into Standard Bank and I was like, don't you guys want to close my overdraft so I can only pay it off, so all that I can do is just pay it off. All that I can do is, and you know, Standard Bank was so sneaky that way. Overdraft limited thing, you could even increase it at the ATM insofar as you had proven to the bank that your salary had increased. And I kept doing that because I kept needing money. Anyway, whatever. Overdraft and I go to the bank, what's the lady? What is it gonna take? Can you just close the overdraft so that when money comes in, I can't spend it again, but then avail for me my funds so I can pay separately? She's like, on that day, then you're going to be put on the credit bureau. You're going to be put as a bad debtor because we only close overdrafts if people are bad debtors. And that's gonna put a mark on your record. And I was like, I can't afford a mark because if I get a mark, I won't be able to get a car. So I was like, okay, leave it. And that's why it took that much longer for me to pay off my overdraft. Yeah, but what I'm getting at is I went through I did my time. I did my time like a person in orange, in prison robes. I did my time. And I don't know why under heaven people are just having no respect for that time that I did. I done work by the sweat of my brow. I get this lackluster 4,200 rand salary. And I've got an overdraft at Standard Bank. I'm paying Queen's Park, and now I'm in a permanent job. I take a personal loan to pay my fees off at Wits. Now I've got a personal loan and overdraft, and I've also got this thing on 4,200 rand again. And so by the time I was able, I got a job in, but this time around 9,000 rand. By then I already had a driver's license. I worked like a dog. The driving lessons, go on back, learning the licensing department. They have driver's lessons there too. Yeah. I then was like, I'm just going to be like one of those randos that have a driver's license, but a driver's license. Driver's license driver's license moto, and it's been like that for like years. I get a taxi, mud puddles, bri taxi rank, ke walks, the snacks, ke pachi, le mofufutso wa ko taxing, le batho ba sa rateng go bula defense regada. Yeah, I was like, hey, bantawe, oh, when am I ever gonna get set free from commuting? From this bondage. When shall I be set free from the slavery of downtown Joburg? When and so therefore when I started working for Nedbank, and this is all happening in a very short space of time. I'm literally like 22, 23, right? More like 22. It's 22, 23, 22, 23. Yeah, that age, that's what's good. All right, can I driver's license? Marakina moto. Can I driver? Marakina moto. Can I license? Marakina moto. Because I can't get this. Yeah, my mom's car, I get driver like the weekend if she would allow me. When I started working for Nedbank, my friend and I had a friend at Nedbank. The two of us really always going into staff banking, the financing department, just staff for the options contesting whether we should get what car. The two of us got a car more or less around the same time. I got my car first before her. No, I think she got hers first. Mo salary 9,000 rand, and I ready to start banking. The car loan that cost more than 3,000 rands, because at that stage I got enough of a salary increase to 3,000 rand only legroom. 3,000 rand. It's like I was gonna drive my car. I was gonna have a car, but not actually drive it, because petrol in. When am I ever gonna get petrol on this like crazy budget? Like when? How I'm dining I'm drive all over these Johannesburg streets on an empty tank. Who cares? But I had to have a car. I had to. I was exhausted. Listen, don't come at me with fun brandis. I'm tired of my taxi rank. Downtown Joburg, little rudeness. Sometimes, not all the time, of taxi drivers. I was like, listen, this is not a life. I see him I was like, I've got a 9,000 rand salary, and what do you call this? I've got a 9,000 rand salary, and I already have personal loan repayments coming off. Repayment, overdraft. I'm yet to overcome. Oh, you know how I succeeded to conquer the overdraft? Working for Nedbank, I opened a Nedbank account. And after opening a Nedbank account into which my salary was going, I then finally every month put a little bit of something in the Standard Bank account and left it alone until I finally paid off the Standard Bank account and then closed it. so I don't ever use the overdraft. That's how I finally conquered overdraft earlier bank. Otherwise, for as long as my salary was still coming into an overdraft, I was done for. The net bank account rescued me from that overdraft, but I was still out here eating into Queen's Park because I still needed diaparo or some sebeti. I was still out here paying off the personal loan Yakovit. And because of paying off personal loan Yakovit and having this tight budget, every year I need to go to school. Every year I need to not only register, but of course pay the fees. I struggled to pay my fees off with my salary every single month, so that by the end of the year, each year, I had outstanding fees, and I can't re-register when my fees are outstanding. So Manja, you've got outstanding fees, and you've also, listen, I was determined to finish my education. You've got outstanding fees, and in order for you to register, even if you've paid your fees off, you register a registration fee. So I had to raise at the end of each year, not only the outstanding fees for that particular year, I also had to raise the registration. So it caused me to keep taking out personal loans. And with my salary increasing, I was allowed more personal loans. I was like, I'm not skipping a year of varsity. So almost every year I would take out a personal loan to pay my fees. And I would also take out a loan for registration because I just did not have enough money, enough leg room to actually pay my fees every single month at bits. So that by the end of the year, they're fully paid. I went through all that, okay? Do you understand? So I kept amassing for myself debt upon debt. So I can't understand all the loans that I think like now that I think about it, now, I'm not confabulating, this is fact. It's the truth. So by the time I earned a decent salary, following that job that I got go NetBank as a facilitator, only then was I able to really target my debt without eating into my debt until I had some kind of a decent, like, leftover monies at the end of each month to be like rolling around like I'm important or whatever with a full tank of gas. In the beginning stages of me owning a vehicle, I kid you not, my vehicle was always on 2 bars. 2 bars, dog. 2 bars. I never had more than 2 bars of petrol. Foster. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, anyway, whatever. No more than 3,000 rands. And then this lady comes back, work with the staff banking department of NetBank with a quote, 2,800 rands if you want the Mazda 2. I was like, I'll take it. So 2008, for 6 years, it was 2,800. No, it was 3,500 rands over 5 years and 2.8 over 6. So I took the 6-year deal, and lo and behold, even after, when you work for banks, remove abantu from staff benefits after they leave the job. Because when I left NetBank, my staff benefits, the premium that I paid for the monthly installment that I paid for my car, it stayed the same all the way to the end. So I kept on paying 2,800 and I never ever expedited my car installment because there wasn't a need to. No, it was a 6-year thing. I did. Oh yes, I did. I expedited it. I did. By the time I lost everything, my vehicle had been paid off, so I was paying 2.8. I was paying 2,800 rand on my car installment. I was paying 2,800 rand on my car installment, and after leaving NetBank altogether as a company, I kept paying 2.8. They did not retract the staff benefits. And the situation was so beautiful that even banking, like in terms of the banking card, NetBank, the banking card, the charge, stuff. Even when I was now newly employed, I should never have moved to FNB. I get the one Nikki Foster because FNB is the bank that broke my heart the most. It, like, literally in this season of suffering, it closed my bank account, my bank account that I had with them, private banking. And then when I went to go and open another bank account with them, because if I had stayed with NetBank, that would have happened, and if I stayed with Standard Bank, that never would have happened. So FNB has been slack to me, type establishment thing, especially considering they're the only bank that I banked with private because I was earning that much money. By the time that I lost everything in corporate South Africa, listen, I've done my time. I've been through the rain. I've been through from Brandisi, Le Nord, Lankudra. I've done the time. Situation when I am in suffering so as to bleed me extra. All the work that you have to put in just to get anywhere in corporate South Africa, I already put it in, and I didn't lose my job because I was irresponsible. I didn't lose my job because I was found smoking pachi on the job, high on Zol, or drunk on alcohol, or like I am 17 Monday due to Babalas. No, I lost my job because of this country's corruption. So you get my point. To working by the sweat of my brow anyway, whatever. Look, listen, I don't mind working by the sweat of my brow, but it has to be in a place where I'm starting again from scratch, a new thing, as opposed to interact and volume 2.0 langtella you back whatnot any kind of sense. And all this is happening while my career is growing and growing and growing. I've done isikhathi sami. So if at all, for me to finally get to a point where I've got such a decent salary and such a decent life. However, looking back at all those days and puddles of rain and all those personal loans and all those overdrafts that kept on eating my salary like it was Pac-Man, and how I conquered that, I overcame that. All those things that I went through, only for people to take me back to a situation like essentially working dumb jobs, working like a call center because you know it's a means to an end, working whatever, it's a means to an end, working whatever, it's a means to an end. There was a time when I was willing to do means to an end, and you know what, I'm still doing means to an end. I am still doing means to an end. I've told you what my visions and my ambitions are. I guess you've changed my career. You've made sure that my job choice now has changed. I can no longer work in corporate South Africa, so I want now online streams of income. And my main primary thing is ministry. Though I never ever intend to monetize ministry, neither intended to monetize ministry, I certainly did want to monetize the online space. I wanted to be an online commercialist, if you will, an online entrepreneur. I was going to sell my stuff online. Like I said, I've done the time. If I had a child, which a lot of y'all are trying to put in my stomach for this very purpose, if my life would have been a lot harder. I would have had a lot more fine lines, a lot more wrinkles. I would have had a lot more creasings of my forehead because of what I would have had to do again. I watched my mom go through that. My man, like, listen, you've already progressed. Opalami, you have succeeded. Bese umuntu azokhokha back. Bese amaboss snacks constructively dismissa. Bese uzozithola futhi again emateksini or une apartment yakho unendlu yakho ozakhela yona off plan, bese uzolahlekelwa ngoba abantu babhizi bayathakatha from kini yile ndlu, and then you find yourself uhlala eroomini ekasi futhi of one of your relatives. Mamela, I watched my mom go through that. I watched my mom go through essentially the South African curse. Ngizulantselo ya batho baba akang nerula kontlu go Winchester Hills eki maika emoka ya off plan. It had such a massive yard that over the years my mom was going to be able to make it a double story, make it a little bit boovy, after swimming pool, after pavement, and initially we were in this a house in an island. The house was an island encircled by amanzi wet gravel. It was just bushes, and every so often go the corner of Mabota of the property, you would see if Gundwan. I know my mom hired gardeners like a beautiful garden. Mara, she didn't have money for paving. So what's what I cause like basically instead of pavement because it was cheaper. And the thing they made the driveway easier to drive on as opposed to just mere gravel. Yeah, and it also was more seemly type establishment thing. But she was planning on pavement. She was planning on over time who extended to further. She only extended it once, but she was planning on extending it again. And she was also planning on hooking up a swimming pool. And Nkule was so big that at some point it would have just been Nkule wasn't big. Jarata was huge. The house initially was just a 3-bed, and then my mom extended and added an ensuite in the main bedroom, right next to a dining room, because initially it was just a lounge area, and then a patio, like a little bit of a terrace, but you know, terrace rather speaks of like elevated, almost like on the second or the third floor. Mama, if I get a patio, do you understand? A patio. Yeah, but that was the only one that she was able to do. After that, and life just slapped her upside the head. Blah blah. I sing it on like and I know today that Kiboloyi and not just happenstance because God showed me that's what happened. I'm a family members, I'm a friends. This is South Africa. I gotta get out of this nasty place. And you go and you take people and revert them back like 4C hair that's been silk pressed after washing it. You revert them back to where they started from. Nabono mawam abuyela ku babizana room. Recadile ko room. Mamela recadile ko room. After my grandmother's house ekasi ko so ko qadi. See, we commenced ko room and asabuyele room. We commenced ko di townhousing. The sectional titles, the flat. Umama buyela ma flatting. Ele horo ona regular ndlu stand alone in a neighborhood. Wabuyela first for the flatting, the townhouse complex. Study rentang, tasa di rekang that she doesn't own. And then after that, by the time I was like first year varsity, second year, that kind of nonsense where I made I was like fine, and then there's a time when I was living 4 ways when I keep a taxi footy dog kill it here because I couldn't drive my car because in petrol. And there was a day when my car thank God it's not petrol. And I walked from Bit to 4 ways Lone Hill. I walked Jansmats Avenue. That becomes not William Nicol. Yeah, it becomes William Nicol, right? Yeah. I walked Mamela all the way from there. You do the calculation. Go on Google Maps and figure out how many kilometers that is. My feet felt like death warmed up. Pins and needles all the day long. I took a break at one mall and then continued to walk. after taking that break, I wished I hadn't taken the break, because once you sit down from a long walk and you try to walk again, your feet, it's like you must just finish the journey when they're still throbbing. Because if you sit down, you will feel the pain of having walked for that long on those rested feet. Anyway, now I did that, and I got out of Wits 7 or saying, kids, I might look of Wits out of the computer labs, because I realized I wanted to go home at around, I was there up until at around 3 a.m. in the morning. I wanted to drive home, but then my car was stuck. I waited in the computer labs until 7 a.m. when the sun was up. I waited in the computer labs until 7 a.m. when the sun was up to walk, because then that would be, of course, safer to walk during the day, right? By the time I got home, people were in peak hour traffic coming back from work. So it was like 4:30, 5:30 by the time I got back home. You count how many hours that is, dog. I walked all those hours from Jan Smart becoming William Nicol, from Wits University all the way to Lone Hill, 4 ways Lone Hill. Together was saying, but to back from work. I was in that traffic. Rush hour, William Nicol. And I'm out here, I hope no one from MTN sees me in this very season. So you took me back to not having a car or not having enough petrol. I never before, listen, you even experienced me through things that I never would have ever experienced, that I had never experienced before. Because in the beginning stages of me walking long distances, and then I got a car, and after getting a car, I never had to walk long distances. So things like, though my car always had just 2 bars of petrol, and I knew how long I could drive on reserves before I get stuck altogether, right? And guys, in my life, prior to this suffering, ever have isgubu in my car. Say petrol, the potential for getting stuck. I've never had sgubu, and I've never had funnel sgubu. And the first time in my life, I had to go, since my car was stuck, I had to go to garage, kilo petrol, because my car was stuck somewhere. And when I went there, the garage attendants were like, sgubu, sigupi. I was like, I don't understand. Don't you just dispense them? And this guy was like, they cost 5 rand. I was like, yo, okay, yeah, sure. And then the guy was like, I was like, it's a jardim. My car was stuck, I walked to the garage from 4 ways. The lines have always fallen for me in pleasant places. My car always got stuck conveniently. Like the one time I drove it all the way to Witskapaka, and then when I tried to start it to go home, it didn't move. So it was parking not safe, and then the other time, the next day when I tried to drive it, it wouldn't move. My car has always gotten stuck like that multiple times at places where it was safe for me to go and now look for more petrol. Except for one time where it got stuck on Bayers Nadia, and I called my mom. She tried to pass me shade, realized however that I wasn't too much of a stranded position when you land on. But for the rest of the majority of the time, all the other times, in inconvenient spots. Okay, and the guy, the one, I get my car was stuck at Jardin. My car was stuck at Jardin. So I walked out of the complex like I'm taking a neighborhoodly walk, and thank God, 4 ways, everything is just like around the corner. So it's not like it was a very heinous walk from my apartment to the nearest garage. It was not far. It was just like, yeah, you could totally take that walk and just walking your dog type establishment thing. I give you the garaging. Yeah, the guy, I was like, and then he was like, my sister, I was Kalukani. Do you have a funnel? I was like, a funnel? I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Coca, like they were drinking Coca-Cola out of a 2 liter. Well, tata a bottle empty like Coca-Cola plastic. Yeah, 2 liter. I say and he was like, I want this thing in. Winking and more funneling out. Wait till it's straight. More petrol tanking your house, because then it's gonna spill everywhere and you're gonna lose petrol. Or looking at this thing first, and then we say that he say we'll tell her petrol. And I was like, okay, I took the instructions from him. That thing I'm feeling on, and that thing. After that day, on that first day, I remember when I drove my car in petrol. My car smelled like petrol because kupu sele le funnel ya thing. And I don't mind the smell. If anything, I love the smell of petrol. I love the smell of the earth. People say I've got an addictive personality because of that. But I don't smells like petrol, it smells whatever. I love the smell of petrol. So I didn't mind petrol in mokoloing. The reason why petrol in mokoloing was because petrol, the smell of it is very, very heavy. It's very strong. It's pungent, right? And the plastic, the Coca-Cola like lid thing, plastic. Yeah, that Coca-Cola lid thing, plastic whatnot. It was just bare open and in it petrol. So such experiences I never would have had them if I wasn't entered into the sorrow, into this pain. Then ever mean get travel Johannesburg like as le funnel. I like to this day can I just in my car le funnel. That's the life of a broke person. That's the life of a broke dude. That's the life of a dude. I'm not driving in on reserves. Every so often I'm going to need in my car. Just in case. Like broke dudes that are always partying all over these streets. In the car. Because why would you need to have this petrol in your car? If at all you can just drive by Isasol, drive by E-engine, and just go and get a full tank or 2/4 tank or whatever. Yeah, I was never so broke. I was never so out on a limb. I never had such a lowly life before. I never for the life of me ever had such a lowly life in history that I would ever get stuck or even face the risk of getting stuck. Yes, there was a time when I was eating because I kept taking out loans into even garage card, petrol card. We overdraft. Ne ke like budget ke le ka debt more ke dule ke be le petrol ya go fitlha ko mosebetsing. So when I first got a car, I was worried and still be those people that have a car but you still commuting because petrol ya too. But I succeeded. Though I worked ko Bram Park on Nedbank ko call center ele. However, this neighborhood is very complex. However, another unit. I mean that's like Rediport, Wilgehevel to Braamfontein. I mean that's decent petrol. Nonetheless, despite my fears that I'm always just gonna not have petrol, it was God's grace. Even though I didn't know Him at the time, I never ever got to a point where I was commuting again despite having a car because it was like I said, it's God's grace. It was the Lord's choice for me. And don't mean I did not myself know. It was a decision between a Clio, Renault Clio, and a Mazda 2, and I'm glad I chose Mazda 2 because the parts are easy to get in the country, even like fake parts, whatever. Essentially, Mazda is an easy vehicle to maintain in South Africa. I was warned about Clio Le Peugeot 206 and 207. I was warned on the South African market. Like, they're just not convenient for the South African market. Just get Ilonduza and get Mazda because you will never go wrong. Get Mazda. Things like cars like Toyota, Mazda, whatnot. You'll never go wrong because the South African market is teeming at the folds with such vehicles as these. You are always going to have something to you're always going to have a workable solution around any car issue if you have a Mazda. And this is the advice that I got from guys in the call center. Go Bram Park, go Nedbank, go Bram Park, go call center. Some of my colleagues, I knew sure we were all choosing cars, and not all, but me and this girl. So every so often we got advice from like these dudes that we worked with, and one of the dudes, and even my ex-boyfriend, was out here counseling, go for the Mazda because of this, that, it's easier to get parts, it's this and that. So I took their advice coupled with it wasn't a cheaper deal, they were more or less the same price, but I'm glad I got the Mazda because it came in so crazy handy. It did, all their advice came in handy because the vehicle works for me. Mazda 2 Q. I need another cup of coffee. Go Mazda 2 and Mazda 2. It was a 1.3 active. I also had an option at a 1.6 active. But because of my budget, I'm glad that I was talked down to a 1.3 because while it is a little bit slower on the roads, why do I need to go fast anyway? I know that thing is decent on gas, dog. Like decent. Like it is decent like a decorous lady in the medieval times. Always wearing a hunter in a bunch. But despite that, she out just still walking around with poise. My man, that car is so light on gas that despite my fears of still continuing to commute despite having a motor, I nonetheless was able to travel to work and come back all month long. When I was at the call center, the deal that I got, Mazda. Remember I told you that I moved from the call center immediately into a training job, but still for Nedbank. The deal was sealed at Nedbank when I was still in the call center, and then I moved over to the job as a trainer. And I remember when I first started working there, I chose to collect my vehicle at Hatfield, the branch, Mazda Yako Hatfield. And my boss was like, go, because I had to have a car for the job, and she was so excited for me. But then people just always just betray me later on because it was like, our employee has a car, and I was like the young one over there. I was the youngest employee officing, and everybody was so excited on the day when I went to go and get my car. And my boss was like, go and get your car, go, and then afterwards you can go home and we'll see your car tomorrow. The next day, I got some congratulations. Yeah, So my colleagues celebrated my vehicle like they were my mom and my dad. Anyway, whatever. The type establishment thing. I went to go and collect it there, and I remember the first time it had a full tank in my car, because when I collected it off the showroom floor, it still had pretty much all the gas in there. The first time I had to go and fill up a full tank, but I also had a job, what do you call this? A job promotion by then. I was just like waiting, looking at this thing and say fila, and I'm waiting for this guy to just keep going, and then he stops, and it stops at like 256 rands. I like listen, I mean fine. So 256 rands was still pretty cheap even back then, in spite of what inflation could do to prices. Okay, I was like out here blinking it out a storm on some 250 for a full tank, 250 for a full tank, 250. Because I was given horror stories of the full tank is about to come. I was like, Banda, where is salary I'm getting economy? It is to a point where when I got my car installment, my car loan from Nedbank, I also got a petrol card, a garage card. It came with the deal. They were like, it can help you supplement petrol. I was like, I'm definitely gonna need that just in case month end your feet like it's not petrol. It's not shelter petrol. Get enter from garage card. That's why I started the debt garage card. I didn't need one because of the new job that enabled me to keep paying my debts better, whatnot. My 250 rands full tank ale, guys. Even in petrol petrol prices going up and down, my full tank never became more than 300 rands. And I would only fill it up. Mamela, I used to work in Hatfield, Pretoria, so I traveled from Wilgejevel to Hatfield using that road area called Silver Star Casino to go to work. And I filled, when I was working in Hatfield, I had one full tank. My full tank would last me a week and maybe 2 days of the next week. So I filled up my full tank 3 times a month when I was working in Hatfield, because it was quite far. But I then got a job at MTN. And when I was at MTN, which is like in my neighborhood, I kid you not, my full tank could last me 2.5 to 3 weeks. Because that car, even though, like I said, petrol I think it's cheap, ne? $250 for a full tank. $250 for a full tank. And despite how cheap it was, it also, over and above being cheap, was just like, that's why I said I'm glad I chose a 1.3 active as opposed to a 1.6. Consumption of gas was so slow. Like those bars, and it was shockingly static because I had driven my mom's car around these Joburg streets. Sometimes I went partying in my mom's car, and listen, her little petrol gauge thing would come down so quickly from just one trip, like to a neighborhood and then back. So I was expecting petrol just like my mom's car, una Chrysler at the time, and I was expecting what my mom's petrol gauge did to happen with me. And imagine when you're driving somebody else's car, when the petrol does stuff like that, you're like, my mom never used to make me pay for gas. So essentially, yeah, life was better. It was good when I was driving a car. I was expecting that, but mine, one bar would be out. I would drive all over these Joburg streets and come back good. So it helped for me to have a full tank, like that. Sorry, to have that little money paid for a full tank. And despite that, there was a time when I went to go and fill up 100 rand at the garage using my petrol card. It declined, only to discover that my boyfriend at the time had stolen my petrol card to fill his own. He had used my petrol card, stolen it from my purse. Some of the reasons why I left that relationship. One Jonjela imali, decline, and some other guy, another man paid for my petrol upon seeing that I'm distressed and didn't even ask for my number. Shame. Distressed. I'm batalla. What's the damage? I'm jail $100, 150. Why batal? I could afford I told you there came a time when I only had about my 2 bars of petrol in my car because of the fact that I only had about my 2 bars of petrol in my vehicle at the time, because of the fact that I couldn't afford to get I've been through life, even 250 rand to 300 rands as petrol prices went up was nonetheless 250 rands or 300 rands too much at some point, like when you're living hand to mouth and you are getting to work by the last remnants of marinza of yourself, and so you don't even have petrol for the last week of work. Yeah, so 250 rand to a point where sometimes I didn't even have it. So I had the 50 rand, and the 50 rand, the 70 rand, made sure I had at least 2 bars of petrol in my car, and the 2 bars there would take me a long way. Long story short, thrifty, and not only that, grind to figure out what kusasa dala grandshop umuntu having gone through all that nonsense. But then I got to a point with all those things that I've just told you now. I got to a point. I remember when I was dating my ex-boyfriend, came saying, there came a time when it didn't matter what day of the month, what season of the month it was, whether it was the middle of the month, the end of the month, somewhere in between, where I would ever have petrol, where I would only have one bar. It never got to a point. There came a time when I was so financially independent, so financially strong, so financially secure, that it would be a surprise for anybody to find 1 or 2 bars of petrol in my car, and rather the expectation to always have 3/4 to a full tank, whatever the time of the month is. Because I always used to fill up my car to a full tank once a week, whether or not petrol. There was always more than enough gas in my car, because I got to a point where I was so financially strong that ain't nobody be finding me with abysmal looking petrol tank stats. Nobody. Like, listen, ain't nobody. So ain't nobody, like, listen, people have now taken me to the life where I'm content with 2 bars, and now not 2 but even 1. And even then people have reduced themselves to a most gnarly monster where now 20 kilo amugela accommodator petrol tank e flashang, so e flashang, not petrol tank mara ba a1 le teng e flashang, evidencing that it's on its way out. Le teng my petrol gauge in aldi bar where, and then how na le 1 bar you're good, and then it starts to flash. That's when you know that you're in dangerous terrain. And then the 1 bar if flashang you're now entirely on reserves. And my reserves, hey man, I've driven from Wits to Lone Hill Fourways on those reserves. That's why I sort of kind of low-key trusted that I would be able to get home on reserves of petrol. The day when I walked those many kilometers from Fourways, sorry, from Wits to Fourways, it's because I had survived or escaped. I had done something like that before. But I suppose maybe just enduring your vehicle through many iterations of that gets the car to a point of now stopping to accommodate the usage of so many reserves. I don't know what happens with a car that way. So yeah, anyway, Koloyaka has taken me a minute. Y'all, like some pretty far distances. So y'all put me in a position. It's what I'm getting at, okay, y'all? To go to places that I never even have been at before. One, having iskupe motwen ne funnel yakon all the day and all the night long. And number 2, reserves. That is something that I literally never did I never did it. Like when I was still working, there was never ever a necessity for me to drive around on reserves. As soon as the bar A1 flashang disappear, I would get such a heart palpitation issue that I would go to garage same time. I never let once my car was flashing like that, I used to go and fill up until I got entered into this persecution. And then I watched my vehicle go from flashing bar to empty to driving on reserves, 2 trips from Wits to Fourways and Fourways to Wits. What the heck? Yeah, taking those kinds of risks to a point of even like I had only ever experienced my vehicle getting stuck on petrol once. Yeah, no, so I had experienced it. I correct that. I had experienced it when I was working for Kijima, because I came to Hatfield, and then I moved to Kijima, which was in Midrand, and I was there. That was like long distance again, and I had gotten to the end of the month, and nobody else out here I was prepared to call. It was the day before payday, and then I was gonna go to the garage first thing in the morning before Gyam 17. Kastaka on Kilebe Strada Sylvester Casino, man. I got stuck over there, and I was helped eventually by my ex-boyfriend after dragging his feet through a friend of his that lived in my neighborhood. But that was the first time that I found out how far my reserves could take me. That was the first and the last time that I ever got stuck in my vehicle as an employed woman. It never happened again. In this season, listen, maybe I can count them on my head how many times I've gotten stuck on my one hand because of pushing my vehicle to the point of the comprehensive depletion of my reserves due to me having 50 rand in my pocket but being unprepared to use it for petrol because I wanted rather to use it for bread because I also had food insecurity, and then telling myself that without getting stuck I will take a walk to Checkers I'll take 50 rand and I walk here to the nearest garage while my car is left hazarding on the street and then on my 2 series walk to my car and then drive home and so have no bread. These are the choices I've had to make in the season. But even that season of my car getting stuck and me having no one coming through for me, I overcame that. A fight with my family members where they would leave me out on that kind of a crazy limb, in danger, in harm's way. So I have not had to use iskupse petrol in years because my family has done a better thing by me. I would never travel out there again in a vehicle that is insecure on the road. I would never. because I now have got better. I've prayed myself out from that level of apathy. So what I'm getting at is that people are not going to retreat me. They're not going to retract me. Like, they're not going to revert me. Like 4C hair that has just undergone a silk press after washing it, and then it just bounces back to its like 4C coily nature. I'm not going to revert to certain places. So lebalang, the day when I'm combating just to go to some job where I don't have petrol for the month and it's what I need to deal with. The day is not going to come when I'm struggling with rekisa jewelry to people, rekisa whatever. Another reason why I'm not even selling things to people is because I ain't got no people. I don't go anywhere where I meet people. Everyone has abandoned and forsaken me. So nobody's gonna make me walk in that kind of a business model. I know what I'm working for. I know what I'm striving for. If at all in the beginning of my career, the overdraft is the personal loan until I got to a point of financial freedom. I put in the time and it paid off. When a nation is so far gone that no longer can people put in the time and endure rain in a taxi rank, endure route taxi drivers and people abanungi baji, abantu bangafuna ukuvula ama-window taxi ngoba wonke umuntu uthanda nje ubustaffing ala. If at all a person enduring all that, the day's gonna come when your colleagues are saying congratulations, you got your first car. If at all your hard work does not produce congratulations, you got your first car, what the heck are you running? It's a cesspool. It's a dent ball. It's a condemnation fest. Mamela, it is a most diabolical, satanic, like absolutely written off in the sight of God, like oppressive regime like that. Yeah, Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran. It is apartheid South Africa. It is you work like Nja Maragna. I bantu. I was congratulate them for finally leveling up like your Sierra. How you feel to promotion? I see no more. This time we can sell and still eat dust. You're killing your own economy. You're destroying your own country. You're making it impossible for the youth to thrive. For middle-aged people, anyone in the age spectrum in the country, you're making it impossible for them to buy a cool and still get nowhere. On that day, I'm sorry, I'm not so much working to make a single red cent, blue, black cent in South Africa. I'm working to get out. Is to escape a fundamentalist, satanic, oppressive regime full of ritualists that keep on wealth transferring from people and functioning as barriers to entry until people cannot get theirs no matter how hard they work. So I said out there estradine like a hawker on the street for 2 rand 50. I'm not going to grind in this market. I'm not going to contribute a single cent to South Africa. I am not going to work like a dog if I had kids. So seeing as I comfortable when the pillows all over every so often give a very concerned or either gym or something to do that's going to because Wi-Fi free flowing, enough for me to stand on a rooftop and riot and picket on a rooftop. Finally somebody will hear so I can get out of this crazy country. I am fighting to leave. I am fighting to leave South Africa. I am trying to show to whoever will finally happen upon my content and set me free from this jail that it doesn't matter how much work we put in this country. It doesn't matter what you can strive for. You can create all this glory, all this beauty. Look at how ornately decorated my ministry is. At the time of recording this, it's just an empty video. But by the time I post it, I have added music, I have cut out silences, I have added stickers, I have color corrected. I've done the most. I've collated, put the video together from 3-minute segments to a whole 45-minute long video or whatever. And it's not just one part, but honey, by the time I'm done here, because I'm going to finish this video, indeed. Today is the 24th. By the time I finish, it'll be the 25th. And even then, it might even be the 25th in the afternoon. Not even so much in the morning, because I talk all night long for hours. This, like all my singing, the covers that I do. I'm about to sing covers right now. All the things that people are monetizing on social media, I'm not able to monetize them. I can't do covers for gospel music and monetize that. I can't sell t-shirts on Etsy. I tried. I can't, even my desire to start a YouTube channel for baking so I can show you just what baddest puff pastry in the game I can make. I can't even do that while I'm still banned here because people are ascertaining that I go nowhere. Making sure that I cannot make a single cent. And y'all know how lucrative food channels are. And I wanted a food channel. Not because it was lucrative, but because I'm a foodie, but because I am a baker and I wanted to do a baking channel on YouTube. Ke qala fela hanyane ka 200 subscribers. Ke qala fela hanyane ka 500 subscribers. Ke qala le nna fela ka 500 views until I'm finally able to make that cheesecake that are just going to be trending 5 million, 20 million strong. People viewing the short of, and then 5 million people viewing the long video where I am showing them step by step how to make cheesecake. I was gonna get there. I was gonna get to a point where I was gonna have an online bakery. Because it became my passion. It's a skill I learned in the suffering of baker. And ever since then, I just could not do enough of it. But I knew that I could never have a confectionery, a bakery, like Fornos, where people walk in, because I don't have the energy for that. Especially considering there are other things I would much rather focus my resources on than baking all day long in order to sell my baked goods to people. But if I can bake something once a day or once a week or 3 times a week, and then share the recipe on YouTube, and then give the baked goods to people out there, the security guard, my family, anyone that will like it, friends, yeah, I don't have to bake a bakery's worth of baked goods every day, and so that be my permanent job. I can only bake online, share the recipe, and that make me money. I knew that I would not have the energy for a bakery. As soon as I fell in love with baking, I knew that I wished I could make this a career. But I mean, like, listen, back in the day, there was this. When I was 24, 25, I had a big fat chunky 25th birthday party that was like Chicago themed. And for my birthday cake, I wanted a Manolo Blahnik shoe on my birthday cake with 3 tears. And I went looking for a person that would bake this for me. And I found a lady in Rediput that bakes really excellent designer cakes. And oh my goodness, her stuff was excellent. The cake was perfect. It looked exactly like what I saw on what I gave her the picture of, what I saw online. And it looked exactly the same. And it tasted also delicious. Like, wow, it was a combination of like caramel chocolate right next to some other layer, whatever. Like, okay, I had that excellent cake made that my friends enjoyed the next day after my party ended. For the next like 2 days. It was so delicious. Like, it was such a beautiful cake that was made. Y'all know how designer cakes sometimes are, they look so beautiful outwardly, but the cake on the inside is kind of dry up. The thing looks really great. This woman was just so excellent that the cake itself was delicious right next to the design. And I would recommend her anywhere. If she's still alive today and I was still in South Africa when I got married, I would hire her even for a wedding cake, right? That woman, when I went to see her, on the day when I went to see her, I got to see her house. I got to see where she bakes, basically her workspace. And the lady was running me through her portfolio, where she was showing me, oh, I made this cake for the Minister of Education one time. Oh, I made this cake for the CEO of this company. Essentially, she had high-profile clientele. But her house was this like basic house in Florida, okay? And in her house, it was clean. It was not a beautiful house. It was just a neat house. It was clean. But the whole, like, from outside, from the drive in, when you're just parking by the gate, you could already smell that it's a bakery, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But then when you walk in, that heat of oven always on, it just met you. And then all over her house on different surfaces, be it in the lounge, be it in the dining area, in the kitchen especially, there were just like all these cakes. Like, there were all these like cakes everywhere. There were all of these cakes everywhere. And then on a kitchen counter, there were batters, like batter. And she was like on a roster, because she was not just making my cake, but she was also making the cakes of all these other people, right? And her whole entire house was essentially teeming at the folds with her business. She could never ever host guests at her house who then would be like, oh, I love what you've done with the place. Who would then be like, oh, I like your curtains. Because don't nobody see the curtains. All that anybody would see are all the cakes on the tables, all the cakes on any surface. There was like something that had to do with her baking, like chocolate here, this, like, listen, it did not give you the dreamlike, almost like magical, for lack of a better word. I don't like the word magic because it's just so evil, that stuff. But like the stuff that you would find in like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, okay? Or Hansel and Gretel, how they make that gingerbread house look so cute. No, this woman's house did not look like Charlie, like Mr. Willy Wonka's factory. Neither did it look like the gingerbread house in Hansel and Gretel. Something that looks like a kiddie's happy zone. It just looked like an organized mess. It wasn't dirty, it was clean. Otherwise, I would not have continued to buy stuff from there. But her whole house was pretty much the back of a bakery. Have you ever been to the back of a restaurant where they cook? It's just chaos everywhere. there's carrots there, there's knives everywhere, there's people washing dishes. This is clean, it's hygienic, but it's an organized mess because this is where food is being prepared. Her house was the workspace where food was being prepared, but instead of it being food being prepared, it was cakes, and it smelled divine insofar as you're just driving by. But all I could imagine was that this smell is divine, and I love that the cake that I'm here to collect, when on the day when I went to collect, because I went there twice, on the day when she ran me through her portfolio, and then the day when I went to go and collected, the day before my actual birthday. My goodness, like, I remember saying, ooh, it smells so beautiful here, but I remember also saying, but imagine living in this smell all the day long. Like, imagine living mopela, gelato, scents, fragrances all day long. It would be like when I was a kid. I remember Easter, my grandmother bought us these Easter bunnies, that chocolate after taking us to Rand Easter show. My grandmother bought us these bunny rabbits ezingaga each after taking us to Rand Easter show, and all of us were so chuffed because we all had an Easter bunny each. You know, when you're a kid, parents are so stingy, like elderly people are so stingy, they be out here insisting that you share one PS, one bar one, because I don't have money to buy you your own bar one. But that particular year, my grandmother was feeling especially generous, so she bought me and my cousins, everybody, their own Easter bunny, chocolate. And this Easter bunny, while it was hollow on the inside, so it was not even heavy, in a chocolate outfit, we thought that we could eat it like eating one temple, one bar one Snickers. I know, Mamela, it was so big that by the time you had eaten the ear and like part of the face, you would, even though as a child, and even though as a child you won't restrain yourself unless you get restrained by adults who tell you can only have 5 sweets, 5 little jelly babies, you can't have the whole packet, otherwise you're gonna get cavities, little Johnny. No, it was Easter, boss, and so they were spoiling us. So eat that chocolate at your leisure. I felt I'm going to get that chocolate again for another year. So we ate these Easter bunnies at our leisure, to a point where we had to be looking like Augustus Gloop in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, with chocolate all over our faces. Yeah, or that boy in the book Matilda that was told to go and eat all that cake until he vomited his guts out. Yeah, we look like those kids in those books with like a whole bunch of chocolate all over our faces. Mara, by the time we had eaten like I said, the ear and a part of the face of the Easter bunny, it got to a point where these kids, they can just eat like cake unfettered, if at all there's no adult supervision. It got to a point where we literally put it aside, like Raibe. Each of us put our Easter bunnies in the fridge because it was so big and there was just so much chocolate to go around that it got to a point where it became sickening. It got to a point where it became nauseating. So listen, too much of a good thing is pretty much not right? Yeah. And that's what was giving in this lady's confectionery house where she was doing this work. And then she used to, I would imagine that lady made so much money because her cakes, my particular cake cost 2,500 rands. So per month, she probably made tens of thousands of rands from all those orders. But when are you going to get to enjoy your salary? When are you going to get to enjoy your money? When are your children ever going to get to enjoy you redoing your bathroom? When you want to do a change of couches in the lounge, your kids are not even going to get to enjoy the new couches because, mama, there's always cake on one of them. There's always cake. You want to buy a new coffee table, there's always cake on it. There's always some either batter or sponge cake or decorating stuff or piping bags just chilling on the table. So people can't even enjoy the glory of a house. So I remember when the first time I went there, I was like, oh, this place smells lovely. But when I went inside, I was like, whoa, this woman literally lives at the back of a restaurant for a house. She lives at the back of a bakery for a house. It's a royal mess. And then the second time when I went there, I remember thinking, it's like back in the day when my grandmother bought us those Easter bunnies. It's too much chocolate for one sitting. And that woman was living in it. She was living in that constant scent of baking, of baked goods. For like, she lived in it, she slept in it, she bathed and showered in it, she mopped the kitchen in it, she washed the dishes in, like, her whole entire life in her house, because the smell, you could smell it from the time you parked your car outside. Yeah, she was living in it. So it's like she was eating chocolate non-stop. So a beautiful scent without it having, constraints will at some point become sickening to the nostrils. And that lady's bakery in her own house reminds me when I wanted to bake, when I wanted essentially to monetize pastries, because I loved making them. I remember just thinking, but then I'm gonna have to live like that lady. I'm gonna have to live like that lady who, albeit having a clean workspace because you respect your self-hygiene and your customers, you nonetheless are like one who lives with a bed at the back of a restaurant and everything, and a whole shower and a bathroom back there. because you always must be making some stir fry for some people. You must always just be ready to give a client's order. And in our baking, like, you listen, that woman, it takes a lot of time, sometimes even much longer than cooking. And it's so easy to sing a batter and then have to start again. And if you do that as a lifestyle, listen, it takes a lot of you. This is why, like, I love watching baking videos, because I'm besotted with the craft, right? I was watching this one lady that was making these cupcakes, and she was like, there was a time, these cinnamon buns, and she was like, there was a time, like, I'm so obsessed with cinnamon buns that my favorite sort of kind of gelato place is Cinnabon, right? And they're so delicious, but they're so expensive. And I remember just thinking, if I had money, because I only learned how to bake in the season of suffering, right? I was like, if I had money, I would literally experiment with making the Cinnabuns at home. I would buy the ingredients and make the stuff at home, so I never have to buy from here again. Because for 4 of them in a box, you can literally be set back 250 to 300 rands. By a tour, a Cinnabon. No, 180 to 250 bucks. By a tour.